I think we're live.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Hello, 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 everyone. This is Danielle and Tim from ND Out Loud, and we're here talking about skill-based hiring today.
We got a lot on this. And I think maybe to provide some foundational elements for this to maybe just kind of really jump into the conversation. We know, and the numbers are a little skewed with us because there are some things that really can't be quantified with numbers, but we basically know that in this current economy, that 85% of open jobs do not require a bachelor's degree. 75% of those jobs don't even require an associate's degree. This is an economy that's based upon certifications and the slow, methodical skill building process. And the reason why I say slow, methodical is like, they're trying to look at this, and this is where the numbers come from sort of a vacuum of a high schooler that is in 11th grade and how they can build skills through many high schools in this country have certification based classes that are built into the last 2 years of school. And basically, like if you take that 11th grader and you build those skills, you're starting the slow, methodical career process in which you have an 11th grader that's building a career in high school. So, when you have a 40-year-old that's sort of in a dead-end job, that's kind of in a place in which they're looking for the next best thing, that doesn't really work in that vacuum. But it's basically like that. What it comes down to, you need to slowly build a skill set in a specific field that you're interested in, and then go from there.
I have personal experience with that. We homeschooled my son, and he started getting certifications at 13 years old. And by the time he was 18, he had a full-time job as a VoIP engineer for an IT company, just based on certifications alone and a portfolio. He had a portfolio of sandboxing this kind of thing and building his own version of this and all of that. And being able to do those two things combined was huge. But the other part of this for me personally is when I went back to college, I did skill-based college. So
Yeah,
I tested out of all kinds of things to get a master's degree
yeah.
because the skills were way more important, even in the eyes of a accredited college, than me taking all kinds of classes that meant nothing for my eventual degree.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of colleges, not nearly enough, but we're seeing a lot of colleges that are pivoting toward that concept of marketing degree programs that have certifications built in. When these colleges full well know that you're in a place in which you may get two or three certifications, and the employer down the road says, "Hey, come work for me," and they drop out of college, or they maybe drop from full time to part time because they have some type of sustainable gainful employment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the with the idea of, I don't know if I'm coming down with a cold, which I cannot have a cold this week. I have so many things going on, but with the idea that education is now a long linear pathway instead of it being just a 4 year degree. You graduate high school, you get your 4 year degree, you put your life on hold for 4 years, and then you gain employment. That model does not work anymore in today's economy. So there
I
needs to
think
be
it's worked for a long time. I think we've held on to that for way too long.
we
Way, way, way too long. I know when I worked at IT and was running a whole entire IT team, that I learned really quickly after hiring my first person directly out of college that was worthless and they were no good to me at all. And we started looking for people who didn't even necessarily have certifications, but had great portfolios and had done personal projects and had worked on and volunteered at and things like that. That was way more valuable to us as a team. And we ended up building an extremely strong team just looking at things like that and asking them to get certifications before we would consider hiring. And most of these people, especially in their neurodivergent community, would pull off an 80-hour certification in a week
Yep.
and
And then
know everything about it.
Yep. Yeah. So the that piece of it, the certification piece, which is um, basically abbreviated degree programs into like a concentrated period of time in which like the concentrators, so the not easy. It's not something like, like you got to really put yourself into it. But you have a certification. So, like for example, one of the programs that I helped facilitate back in Connecticut when I was working for a workforce development board was a 6-month CNC machine certification program. So it cost, I believe, like $8,000, and the state of Connecticut covered 80% of that. So you really only had a few dollars out of pocket. Um, and like it was 6 months of Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 hours a day of class, labs. Like it was quite involved. So like when I was selling this to potential clients, I'm like, this is not like some like, like something that you can breeze through, but it's 6 months. And then you have a job that's paying $85,000 a year right off the bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my husband is a CNC machinist. That's how he did it and he actually did it 3 months. So he was doing 12-hour days, 6 days a week for 3 months
Yep.
to get his certification. But he was instantly earning really good money in less than 90 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that was a sacrifice in his part. It was quite involved. He probably had to be away from his family more than he wanted to. But, it's just a temporary thing. Like there's a very, very important person in both of our lives that had a very important quote when it comes to, you can always do something, especially if it's temporary. And
Yeah.
um, so yeah, like that's where it is. And there's a lot to be said about um like way back in the day with our father, like he was kind of in the same boat where he did a certification program and he had a job for 35 years working at a subsidiary for General Motors and under pretty good career doing that. Um, so that's the sense of, and this is hard, especially in today's economy, that a lot of people probably need to take that temporary sacrifice of maybe having to work a full-time job in the evenings and go to school in the day for a 3-month or 6-month period, and then you have a career on the other end of that, and you're filling a need that employers need.
And I know, especially for the single parents out there, things like that. And if you're neurodivergent, that's really difficult when you're speaking from somebody who has done this. I have changed careers so many times, and I will tell you 90% of the time when I change, I'll get a degree, I'll do the hybrid version of going to college, I will get a certification, but it's not easy. It's really not easy. So when it comes to skill-based learning, it's about understanding that it is a short period of time, but the light at the end of the tunnel is huge. And I think there is a connotation that skill-based learning, I'm not going to be able to earn anything, that trades have fallen out of fashion, going to trade school and things like that, but they earn more money coming out of the gate than somebody who has a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
Or even a 6-year degree if you have your master's degree or something. Somebody with a skill-based certification program or trade program earns more money out of the gate than anybody with a degree.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Connecticut, the average salary for a Connecticut manufacturing employee, I remember was $108,621.81. And so like I'm a little off with that number, but that it was in the six figures. Um, after, and that's basically 3 years after you have started your certification program and have had some gainful employment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the numbers and the proof all over the country that this
Well,
is,
and,
yeah,
and most certification programs are under $20,000. Almost everything out there is way, like probably under 10,000, where we're talking my college loan was for $130,000. I had to pay $130,000 back. My certifications, $6,000 here, $5,000 there. That was something I put on a credit card and had paid off in less than a year.
yeah, yeah, and then yeah. So you have that, but then there are many, 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 many states that provide programs that basically cover the cost completely free of charge. So even here in Idaho, which is a pretty red state, that pretty like no government sort of state, they pay 80% of a certification program. if you're a resident of Idaho.
That's amazing.
And
And I
yeah,
know that vocational services will help pay for things like this too. If you are, again, for those of you that I work with, because I work in Neurodivergent Out Loud and all of that. If you have a disability, ADHD, dyslexia, being hearing impaired, something like that, you may get your costs 100% covered for one of these things.
yeah. So like that was going to be my next point. Is I'm intimately aware of that because I'm on the board that oversees Idaho's VR system. So like I'm aware of that, and nationwide, every state has their own program for that. And then there's scholarships that these programs have, and then on top of this, there are employers that will recruit you day one from the certification program and say, well, come work with us part time. You have a mentor. You then go to school as well, and you don't get paid much, but you get paid something. But on top of it, the employer said that they will reimburse you for the cost for school if you work with us for a period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
the programs like that out there, and that's one thing that I've talked to some of my client employers about is here's the structure for how to develop a program like that, so that and the legal language that goes behind it as well, that there's a lot of employers that are doing that because they're hurting for employees. They need skilled labor. They need it now. It really comes down to skills. Employers will hire you if you have the skills. The
Yeah.
employer may not. Some employers actually may hire you if you don't have the skills and send you to school to get the skills, but um, they need you. So like they'll work to make that happen.
And that this is a plus to employers. If you're looking for better employees, if you're looking for some of these things, look at some of these certification programs, like connect yourself to them. Somebody like Tim can help you connect to all kinds of certification programs. And because it's so important, skills way outweigh college degree at this point.
Oh yeah, they really do. And then let's kind of like take this to another level. So like being the workforce nerd that I fully admit that I am, my in my previous role, the company that I worked for bought into a study that was done by a company called America Succeed, which is like a workforce think tank based out of Denver, Colorado. And they studied 17 states, and like this was in the middle of the pandemic or so, but they basically looked at open jobs that were available in those 17 states, and tried to assess like what were the key skills that were needed for those open jobs in those states. And Idaho was one of them. And there were other states like, Mississippi, Kansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida. I think South Carolina was on that list, and New York was another one. And it was so interesting that the top two skills that were required for over 80% of open jobs in all of the states were leadership and what was the other one? Leadership and um, communication.
Mm-hmm.
Communication. So like it goes a little bit further in terms of like employers are really looking for people that have those qualities because then at that point they can build the skills. So it comes down to communication and leadership. Like, are you a good communicator? Leadership, the piece of it is, do you accept leadership so that the constructive criticism comes into play with that? But then, are you someone that shows up on time? Do you have a good attitude? Like things like that. Like if you have those finite skills or what was referred to previously as soft skills, but now we call them durable skills because they're transferable to really any job that you have. But if you're someone that has those qualities, you're employable.
Oh,
And
yeah, absolutely. And if you are not sure if you have those qualities, learn them. And how do you learn leadership and communication skills? Certifications. There are so many certifications. Go to Udemy and learn some. I will tell you the best leaders that I know that I have worked with that have been my mentors are constantly learning how to be a better leader. They're not looking at being a boss. They don't want to be a boss. They want to be a leader. There's very different skills involved with both of those. So read every leadership book that you can, go to leadership summits, online things, like do as much of that as possible. Those are both skills that you can really learn. Communication skills, one of the best ways that a lot of my clients, I have them learn their communication skills is join Toastmasters.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I've been a guest to a few of those events that they have weekly, and yeah, that's huge. And so that the communication plays in that, because like you need to be a good communicator if you utilize Toastmasters. So yeah, that's huge. Networking, like that's big. Your online presence is really big in that as well. But like in all of this, like it seems that like our conversation had been is about skilled and like building skills, but it seems like it has slanted towards like the employee piece of it, and how they can get that job that they've always wanted. And that's a big part of it. And because I think, as I'm sure you agree, that there's so many people, especially those that are neurodivergent, that are really disenfranchised from the workforce, or they feel hopeless that they can't get that job because of whatever barriers they're facing. These are perfectly attainable things in terms of the certification piece of it. You have a lot of programs that'll cover the cost, potentially free. And then on the other side, you can learn to be a better communicator, no matter like, yes, no divergent individuals have those challenges, but that's something that they can learn. And then in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of leadership,
absolutely.
yeah,
If you're neurodivergent and you're struggling with those things, this is where one of the worst skills that are taught, and maybe they're taught through trauma, they're taught through, there's a lot of things out there, is not asking for help and not having the right support systems in place. When you are, I don't care whether you're neurotypical or neurodivergent or disabled or whatever, wherever you are, if you are a human adult looking for a full-time job, if you don't have personal life support, then you're going to struggle more, especially if you're neurodivergent, especially if you have a disability. One of the best things that I did for myself to become successful and to have less struggles in my marriage and my life as a parent and all of those things is get myself a coach. And didn't just get a life coach that taught me mindset and affirmations and stuff. No, I looked for a practical skills coach who taught me how to organize, who taught me how to time manage, who taught me executive functioning skills. And then when you learn those executive functioning skills, those become those durable skills that you need in a workforce.
yeah, absolutely. So, the key in this, and we talked about this in previous conversations, is you really need to be true to yourself.
Oh yeah.
So like that, being honest with yourself about like what your shortcomings may be, and really lean on your community to help you with developing those skills. So like, talking to friends, talking to your current employer and saying, hey, I really want to work on this and that. Like, so you have to put yourself in a place of vulnerability. Uh, like you have to. And I think, the key to success is really being vulnerable, one of them. Um, so like if you're in a place in which you're true to yourself about like what it is you need to work on, and then you also make that sacrifice that you need to make in terms of, maybe having to go back to school and get that certification while you're working full time. Many people do it, and you can do it as well. It's really that simple.
Well, and we say it's that simple, but maybe you need support to be able to do it. Maybe you need maybe you need to body double. Maybe you need to have a coach to help you be accountable, or a community to get those things done, because we don't have those people in our personal lives, or we feel bad relying on people in our personal lives to do that. And it's having somebody that can help you through it, because you can do it. And I don't care how disabled you are. I don't care how neurodivergent you are, what mental health issues you have. If you commit to doing something and get the support around yourself that you need to complete the skill, then you can do it.
Yeah. And that's where ND Out Loud comes in, is that we and our team can help you with that.
Oh,
So
absolutely. I mean, daily body doubling. We're body doubling right now. I've got a whole entire screen full of people body doubling right now, because it is such a huge part of what we do. But the other part of it is understanding and having a clear picture and having clarity of what skills you need to build. And that's something that we also help with. You could talk with Tim. You don't get just one person on our team, you get everybody on our team when you need something like that. So do you know what you need to do to build your skills out, to get a new position, to grow in your company, to get just plain find a new job, all of these things? We absolutely can help you with that.
So I can sit down with neurodivergent individuals and really anybody and kind of get an assessment of what their current skills are. There are assessments that can be taken to kind of get a sense of like what you might be interested in. And so like maybe there's a career that you've never thought of that is going to be your dream career that just pops up out of nowhere. And then, okay, now here are the skills that you need to build. Here's your local program that can help you get those skills. Here's your local vocational rehabilitation program that can help you with potentially covering the cost completely 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the type of conversation that I can have with you about that A to Z of like basically a roadmap of what steps you need to take to get there.
Absolutely. And something that I found when I was like researching to talk about this, because I know that skill-based hiring is huge and for client retention and all kinds of things from the employer standpoint. But did you know that according to the US Department of Labor, so the best version of where they can get that data from, individuals with disabilities have a higher retention rate. 91% of employees with disabilities that were only hired based on skills, not education, perform at or above expectations. 91%.
Yeah, I've heard that number before, and I believe it truly. I've seen it. So yeah, and it's interesting because there are other structured programming that's out there that also has a success rate of about 91%. And when you just take the number 91%, the other 9% are, like something happened, some extenuating circumstance, a family issue, a health issue. So 91% is basically perfect. It's basically saying that it's a fail-safe way for you to have a career pretty much right off the bat. And
Well,
like it's a guarantee.
and for a company, when you have diversity and inclusion in your team, companies that accentuate that and champion disabilities have a 28% higher revenue,
Yep.
double
And
their net income and profit margins by 28 to 45% in the first year of having skill-based hires.
yeah. And then there's also a lot of studies that have been done, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but about the innovation that happens within your company when you hire someone with a disability, because you have that different perspective. You have a particular need that employee has that, oh, we can help you with that. And oh, wait a minute, here's a market for it. And then they sell this potential, this service, this product. And then, yeah, so like there's so many individuals with disability that actually invented something within their employer that helped them, increase the revenue or even have a tweak in the business model as a result of the innovation that happened.
So a 45%, a 30 to 45% increase of profit margins in a year of hiring somebody, that's huge.
Yeah. That's insane. Like most employers are looking to maybe hopefully get a gain of 4 to 5% in profit per year. So to have that sort of jump is, yeah, that's crazy.
So if 91% of your employees with disabilities perform above or at
Yeah,
expectations and they increase your profit margin by 30 to 45%.
yeah.
And
So
these are people without college degrees. They're skill-based learners.
yeah, yep, exactly. So here's some talking points that I want to bring up. I'm going to do the kind of the same thing that we did last week, if you don't mind.
That were great.
I'm going to start reading down the list of things that I've developed in prep for this conversation. And so here are some key reasons why you need to have skill-based hiring practices. So like we've had a big conversation about the other side of it, the employee side, which is very key. Like it takes two to tango in this situation. So like so we I think we've covered that fairly well. So on the employer side, and it doesn't matter if you're a large multinational corporation or you're a small mom and pop that just has business within your region. Um, so there needs to be a focus on skills over degrees, which we've already talked about. So skill-based hiring emphasizes evaluating candidates based upon their capabilities and experience rather than formal education credentials. So that's key. Um, and this approach opens the door to a broader talent pool.
Oh
That
yeah, absolutely. You've expanded your talent pool by easily by 40 to 60% by looking at skills only and not just only analyzing college education.
there's a company here in Boise that I tried to have a conversation with and it really didn't go anywhere, but I'm talking to the VP of the company that it was an IT outsourcing company. And I said, I noticed that your website says that bachelor's degree is the minimum requirement for your IT positions, for your entry-level IT positions. And she said, yeah. And I said, I gave her a bunch of numbers as to why that you may want to tweak that approach. And that conversation never went anywhere. And I keep checking whether either they don't update their website or they just have open positions all the time that they can't fill. So like that's an example among many.
Yeah, and you're limiting your income potential when you do that. End of story.
Yeah. So the reason why we want to have skill-based hiring is that addresses talent shortages, which we've already talked about, just kind of reiterated the previous point that many industries are facing talent shortages, and skill-based hiring can bridge this gap by recognizing non-traditional talent. So number three, diversity and inclusion is kind of a
Yeah, I hate that these words are words that are shouldn't say those words anymore because they've politically been stolen for other things that don't actually mean that. Um, Unfortunately, but diversity and inclusion and equity, DEI. And I know that those are a lot of people, especially older people, have major issues with hearing those words. But you want to know what?
yeah.
30 to 45% increase in your bottom line if you implement DEI. End
Yeah.
of story.
Okay. Like I said, like what I put out here for this, that by reducing emphasis on degrees, skill-based hiring promotes diversity and inclusion. So now you're hiring from non-traditional talent pools. It helps level the playing field, particularly for underrepresented groups. That, kind of going back to Connecticut, we'll really tap into inner city Hartford, Connecticut talent pool. So these are multi-generational individuals, multi-generational poverty individuals that they have a mindset of it is what it is, I'm not going to do any better than mom and dad. And we can go in and say, actually, if you go to a local community college, 6 months to get a certification, you're making 80 grand a year to start.
Mm-hmm.
And the light bulb go off in the head. You're like, really? I can do that? And yeah, it was always wonderful to see that. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. It improves workforce agility. So employers gain more adaptable workforce when they're hiring based upon skills. Employees who are hired for their actual capability tend to be more versatile and better suited for dynamic business environments. So, that kind of goes without saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing I can add there because, yes.
Yeah. Now, this next one, I did some studies on this, and this came up, and I'm not 100% sure I agree on this piece of it because there's so many employers that I see that are not doing well in this area, in terms of reducing the time to hire. So when you have skill-based learning, you are speeding up the recruitment process by focusing on core competencies needed for the role rather than waiting for candidates to meet all degree and credential requirements. That's great, but then there's a lot of employers that still wait 3 to 6 months before they even tell the applicant that they've been accepted or rejected for the job.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, having a shorter hiring process is necessary. We need to again add the human touch back into it. Have a hiring person with a clue. And the companies I don't know if fear of missing out, FOMO, is a big problem for companies these days, or what the heck the problem is. But a 3 to 6 month hiring process is ridiculous.
Yeah. Having multiple interviews with different panels, and on top of the assessment that was done, that was weighted out by AI. And
You want to know what? They've been doing this for a good 3 to 5 years. They have been doing this process that they're stuck in, and they aren't increasing their bottom lines. They're not hiring better employees. Like, this process that somebody decided that should be instituted isn't netting them better employees.
yeah, yep, absolutely. Now this one I know you're going to agree with 100%, and that's going to go without saying, but we're going to say it anyways. Is you get better performance and retention when you hire based upon skill base.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Because when you hire somebody that on paper looks like they learned about it in school, that means they don't know how to apply it, they don't know how to do it. But when you get somebody who already has the skills, one, they're most likely to expand their skills. Skill-based learners are always learning.
yeah, absolutely. That brings up a really great point of how I tried to structure in my previous role, where I helped coordinate a registered apprenticeship program here in Idaho, which is one of the most successful in the country now. And the thing that I really would try to teach students and employers is that let's get away from the linear pathway of you go to high school, you graduate high school, you go to school, get a 4 year, 6 year degree, and then you work. That make learning a parallel pathway with your career. So you start your career potentially while you're still in high school. You're constantly learning, so you never stop learning. So you're always going back to school every few years and learning the new skill, especially in the IT field. That you're always in a place of like having to learn the newest thing that comes out, the newest technology, the newest security issues. And so that's the kind of a mindset that employers need to have is like, like learning never stops, and employees need to have that same mindset. That's really the state of the economy as it stands today.
We could, if we went back to skills based, and it used to be skill based hiring, that is what mattered more than anything else. If we went back to that, I would guarantee we would see a decrease in unemployment, an increase in profit margins for almost every company. I mean, just start people young, start them in high school. I did my son, and it was one of the best decisions ever. And the skills that he has are now carrying over into his big boy, I call it his big boy job. Don't, he gets mad at me. He's 20, going to be 27 this year. But all of those skills that I made him learn in high school are ones that, those are the ones that are the most important for him in adult life.
Yeah, like there's so many thoughts in my head about that, but basically, like you like I don't even know where to begin with that. Just kind of like understanding that, um, like as an employer, you really need to tweak how you go about approaching hiring sustainable talent, and then there are tools out there. We keep referring to registered apprenticeship, and that piece is becoming very nationalized now for a very good thing, because there are over 2,000 occupations that are considered apprenticable. So you're in a place of being able to hire and build like a roadmap for skill sets over the course of a long period of time. Some apprenticeships can be 6 months, some of them are 4 years long, but it's basically that framework really need to be the mindset of all employers, no matter like if you're white collar or blue collar. It's the whole idea of building a roadmap, hiring people with low or little skills, and like implementing an education pathway as part of it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that I just, the fact that companies don't want to build good employees, they're just hoping that they appear out of thin air, just boggles my mind. Because I hear employers, big companies, big CEOs complain all the time about the talent pool that they get to hire from. And I'm like, but you're not developing your talent pool that you already have.
Yeah, yeah. So now here's something that now this is big. There are incredible industry examples of skill-based hiring. Companies like Google, IBM. Apple, Microsoft have adopted skill-based hiring practices and reduced reliance on formal degrees instead of prioritizing practical experience. Their success has demonstrated long-term benefit to that approach.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't even argue that. All of those companies have done it. HP used to do it. I don't know if they still do. Most IT companies and development companies that write some of the biggest software, at least 95% of their staff is skill-based, not degree-based.
Yeah. So then why are smaller employers that are doing remote IT tech support still requiring bachelor's degrees?
Yeah. I have a buddy who is a developer. And he works once a year. He goes in, he gets hired based on his skills and his portfolio. He makes $200,000 on a project, and he will work himself to death to get this project done
and then
for 3 months. And then he takes the whole entire rest of the year off and travels and does all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about. And then, so there are challenges to implementation. So like that's just a big thing here, and probably kind of the crux of this conversation is there needs to be a cultural shift within your organization to be able to do this. So like, and now circling back to the comment that I made many, many times over the course of our several conversations that we've had, these weekly conversations have been quite fun, is the idea that we are in a worker shortage. So we are in a demographic drought where there are more people that are retiring from the workforce that's being born into the workforce and is working towards developing a career. So we are in a place where the economy is constantly growing. So that unless there is a major Great Depression type of crash, it's the economy that's going to be constantly growing. So there's going to be a constant increased need for skilled labor in an economy in which we have less people being born into the economy. And then on top of this, we know on a worldwide scale, China is on a downturn. China is losing more workforce. Like just in 2019 alone, they lost more people due to retirement, deaths, that sort of thing, which is that it's also it is what it is. They lost more people than the entire German workforce in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of thing where now Chinese manufacturing has started to come back to Germany, UK, all across Europe, and the United States. Africa is starting to boom as well. So that's another thing that's happening in parallel and layered with all that. So our economy, the American economy, is going to grow even more because there's going to be a high dependence on that manufacturing for the economy to keep turning. So you need to have a cultural shift, and you need to have it now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, you're missing out if you're not looking at skill-based learners. You're missing out on people with more experience than somebody who just graduated from college. Experience trumps learning any day of the week. Sorry. And as somebody who was back in school to get her PhD, I'm still telling you, experience trumps pretty much anything. Two, you're missing out on all of the neurodiverse population because your path to hiring is ridiculous. And this comes back to, we've talked about this multiple times now, put the human, take the AI out of the hiring process and shrink your hiring process to 1 month or less.
Yeah, I read a while ago when I heard a presentation by a fellow board member for my state rehabilitation council that I'm the chair of this council, and for one of my subordinates. He did a presentation on hiring individuals with autism, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. And I actually think he may actually be a good guest for another conversation. And one of the things that I was reading up as he's presenting, because he was just blowing me away with some of the things he was talking about, is that the unemployment rate among autistic individuals in the United States is 85%.
Mm-hmm.
So 15% of the autistic population in the United States is gainfully employed.
Yeah. And you want to know why? It's not because they're not employable. It is not because they're bad employees. It is because people won't accommodate them in the hiring process. 90% of that is hiring process.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I will tell you, as one, as an autistic, and two, as someone who hires autistics and has worked in companies with multiple autistic people on staff and ADHD. You want to know who your best employees are, who will go and work themselves to the, and I don't promote this with my clients. I tell them work-life balance, but they will work themselves to death to figure out how to solve a problem because we hate unanswered questions. We hate, but that also means that employers have to do better in training their managers and their staff to support these individuals. And you want to know what kind of support I need from an employer? I need to be able to ask why and get an answer to the question.
Yeah.
I need a transcript. I need to have transcription in a phone call so that I have notes for after, so I don't have to keep notes, so I can focus on the conversation. That's it. I don't need major accommodations. I need to be able to ask why I'm doing the thing. I don't care whether I like the answer or not. That's not what I'm looking for. When I ask why, I just want to understand what the point of this is so I can put all of the dots together to do the thing. I might not like your answer. That's not the point. The point is I just need to know why so I can dive in and do the whole thing.
Yeah, I know someone who's very autistic that works for an IT company that she literally just, put in the proverbial room, and anytime a big emergency happens, they burn her out. She solves the problem immediately, and then they send her back, and she saved an insane amount of money for this company. So like there's many examples of that where they just have a skill that you may have to adapt how you go about develop like team implementation, but you have something that like money, the amount of money that you save and the amount of value that that person brings is something that you can't really count.
In an autistic person and an ADHD person, for the most part, if you say, we have a skill gap on this team, who's willing to fill this gap? You want to know how long it takes for an autistic and an ADHD person to do it? Half the time that it would take a normal neurotypical person. And they'll actually research every single thing about it that has ever existed and know way more than just the certification program will give them.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me like in terms of us, like where did ND Outloud come into this, and like how can we help neurodivergent individuals or help employers with that cultural shift that they need?
So for neurodivergent individuals, so we'll handle it from the employee side first. One, we can help you get clarity. We can help you put skills together, help you fill gaps with skills to get good jobs. Tim is going to work with you to help show you a good career path, help you create the career path, help you get the training you need. So Tim comes in at that aspect. How do I come in? I train your managers on how to work with individuals with disabilities, neurodivergence, being hearing impaired, all of the disabilities. We come in, we train your staff to deal with it. Two, we look at your company as a whole, find all of their strengths and weaknesses, and help you adapt to them so that you increase your bottom line 30 to 45% in your first year of doing this. And then we support the individuals one-on-one. We give them, and we can be part of your benefits package at your company to help your neurodivergent disabled individuals get all of the mental health and life skills support that they need.
Yeah, yeah, and it goes without saying, because I've said this to some of my clients and former clients, is the key in this is that I don't have a former client. All of my clients stay my clients for as long as needed. So like we come in for either online or even in-person support to help you with creating that internal structure that you need within your team or your whole company. But it's not like we go away once the contract is done. Like
Absolutely we're not. We're there. I mean, I have a client who I had a manager who emailed me last week that I haven't talked to in 3 months. She's like, I have this new individual we're looking at hiring. Can you please look at their resume? Tell me what some of their strengths, weaknesses may be, any red flags to you. And would you be willing to come into our first onboarding meeting and talk with them and make sure that we're accommodating everything that they need?
Yeah. So, please reach out to me or Danielle on LinkedIn, or we have many, many other ways to be contacted. And we would really, really, really love to help you.
Yeah, we could help you. Again, let's increase that bottom line. Let's hire better employees and give you a better talent pool to pick from. I hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you again next week.